Facts about Tom and Jerry. Don't you miss the days when you could just crawl up in bed and spend your time watching Tom and Jerry terrorize each other? Well, for many, they have been the most beloved characters of our childhood. There's no doubt that we immensely loved them, but there are still few Tom and Jerry facts that we bet you didn't know. Well, go ahead and discover some lesser known Tom and Jerry facts. Number 1. The Tom and Jerry series was made in 1940 by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, who also created beloved shows like Yogi Bear, Top Cat, Scooby-Doo, The Smurfs, The Flintstones, etc. One of the most famous and the most beloved cartoon series globally, Tom and Jerry never ceased to amaze its fans even today. Some of you may not know this, but Tom and Jerry started a long time ago. The animated series was created in 1940 by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. Hanna and Barbera were part of the MGM Cartoon Studio since the early 1930s. When MGM took a hit with their Captain and the Kids comic strip, Barbera and Hanna were brought together to direct films for the unit. Barbera, being the storyteller, suggested a cat and mouse cartoon comedy and named it Puss Get the Boot. Even though the other members of the unit didn't think of this as an original idea, Barbera and Hanna went ahead with it. As they never believed Puss Gets the Boot to be a good idea, Hanna and Barbera went ahead to direct non-cat and mouse shorts like The Gallopin' Gals 1940 and Officer Pooch 1941. But everything changed when Puss Gets the Boot began to be constantly shown in theaters and also received a nomination for the Academy Award for the Best Short Subject Cartoons 1941. Even though it didn't receive the award, MGM Animation Studio urged Hanna and Barbera to continue with their cat and mouse idea. They directed and produced 115 shorts for the animated series during its first run. Moreover, Hanna also went on to offer the vocal effects of the comic duo Tom and Jerry, who didn't speak much except occasionally. Hanna and Barbera went on to create numerous beloved shows other than Tom and Jerry. Some of these shows include Yogi Bear, The Flintstones, Wacky Races, The Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, and The Smurfs. Together, they won 7 Academy Awards, 8 Emmy Awards, a Golden Globe Award, a Governor's Award, and a Hollywood Walk of Fame star for their lifelong achievements. Number 2. Tom and Jerry were originally called Jasper and Jinx. When the first animated short for the series was released to the theaters, the cat and mouse duo were actually named Jasper and Jinx. The episode features Jasper, a tomcat, driving extreme pleasure in harassing a mouse by the name of Jinx. It also features Mammy Two Shoes, Jasper's owner, scolding and punishing Jasper for his notoriety. After the successful run of the first episode of the animated series, the creators, Hanna and Barbera, wanted to change the names of the two protagonists. For this, they organized an intra-studio competition whereby employees suggested new names for the dynamic duo. John Carr, an animator, suggested the names Tom and Jerry and won $50 for it. At the time, Tom and Jerry was the name of a Christmas time mixed drink. Number 3. The cartoon series had a total of 163 episodes and was released on February 10, 1940. It continued until September 27, 2005. The Tom and Jerry series had 3 runs. The original first run, created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, had 114 episodes in total. They were theatrical releases and started from February 10, 1940 and continued until August 1, 1958. The next run for the series was directed by Gene Diach. He directed 13 episodes, which unfortunately came to be known as the worst Tom and Jerry shorts. These episodes were first released on September 7, 1961 and continued until December 21, 1962. The third and final run of the animated series was produced by Chuck Jones. He produced 34 episodes in total, and they aired from July 27, 1963 until September 8, 1967. Hence, the 3 runs of the show gave a total of 161 episodes. On April 6, 2001, a short was made only for TV known as The Mansion Cat. It was directed by Carl Torch. The last Tom and Jerry short was released on September 27, 2005 and was called The Karate Guard, directed by Joseph Barbera and Spike Brandt. It's surprising that even though the show had 163 animated shorts in total, the first episode, known as The Puss Gets the Boot, is the longest episode to date with a runtime of 9 minutes and 8 seconds. Number 4. MGM Studio almost discontinued the show after the first episode, as they believed that the concept of a cat and mouse duo was too common in cartoons. When Barbara pitched the idea of a cat and mouse comic series, none of the employees of the MGM Animation Studio showed much enthusiasm. They felt the idea was not original and was too common when it came to cartoons. So after the first episode was released in theaters, both Barbara and Hannah went ahead to work on other, non-cat and mouse projects. It was only a year later that the first animated short of Tom and Jerry gained some popularity, and after that, Barbara and Hannah were brought back to work on Tom and Jerry. Number 5. The face of Tom's owner, Mommy Two Shoes, was shown only once, and that too very briefly during the entire series. Mommy Two Shoes, who is depicted as the owner of Tom in the series, is mostly known by her legs rather than by her face. In the entire run of the series, her face was shown only once. It was shown very briefly in the episode named Saturday Evening Puss, released on January 14, 1950. Mommy Two Shoes was also the most controversial element of the series, as she was depicted as a poor black maid who speaks in a stereotypical black accent. This was seen as being racist by some people. Later, her voice was duped to make her sound less stereotypical. She was also replaced with a slim white woman. But the mommy archetype, however stereotype, was restored in the DVD releases, and Whoopi Goldberg bought it to provide a statement on how important African American representation is for the series. Number 6. The initial episodes, Tom moved on all 4 legs like a normal cat, but later started walking on 2 legs. Tom had undergone extensive changes in his appearance throughout the history of the show. When the show started in the 1940s, Tom looked more like a real cat. He used to walk on all 4s in the initial episodes. Moreover, he also had thick and unkempt fur, multiple facial wrinkles, as well as eyebrow markings. By the end of the 1940s, Tom's appearance was made more workable. Jerry, on the other hand, has remained almost exactly the same during the entire history of the show. Number 7. In one of the episodes of the show, Tom and Jerry apparently committed suicide. Blue Cat Blues is a Tom and Jerry animated short that was released on November 16, 1956. The episode starts with Tom sitting on the rail racks depressed. Jerry watches his friend, apparently from the bridge over the railway tracks, and goes on to narrate how Tom ended up like this. The episode depicts Tom and Jerry as very close friends until Tom is mesmerized by a white female cat. The female cat also returns Tom's love, and they end up in a loving relationship. But as always, then enters the villain. The villain here is Mr. Butch, the wealthy cat that lives next door to the white female cat. He sweeps the female cat off her paws with his wealth. The female turns out to be an opportunist, as warned by Jerry, and leaves Tom for the wealthy cat. Even though Tom realizes how shallow the female cat was, he didn't stop. He used up all his finances, much against Jerry's advice, in an attempt to win her back. But no matter how much Tom tried, Butch was always one step ahead of Tom and many dollars wealthier than him. Mr. Butch and the white female cat get married, leaving Tom penniless, hopeless, and in immense depression. After all this, Jerry thinks of his girlfriend Toots, who has been faithful to him all this time. But at that very moment, Jerry sees Toots going away with another mouse, and that too getting married. Jerry, heartbroken, joins Tom on the tracks. They sit on the tracks and wait for an oncoming train. The train's whistle grows louder as the cartoon fades, giving an impression to the audience that Tom and Jerry just committed suicide. There have been numerous controversies surrounding this episode. Some people believe that it is impossible that Tom and Jerry can be killed by the oncoming train, as they have survived much worse things throughout the show. Hammers, gunshots, explosions, you name it. They have survived it all. Moreover, some people believe that since Blue Cat Blues was not the last episode of the animated series, there is no way that Tom and Jerry may have died on the tracks.